business and how you can be better off with Bloompulse in 2025. So, round of applause for David.
I thought to start the session with a few dry jokes. Now, me, I like dry jokes. I thought maybe you guys might like it too. But here's the thing. If you roll your eyes, I send you out. So just pretend like, no, don't pretend. If it's not funny, don't laugh. All right. So the first one, why did the cake batter call, sorry, yes, cake batter. Why did he call the police? I want a suggestion. No ideas. It was too? It was too runny. I want another idea.
Oh my God.
Because he got beaten up. You guys keep beating up the cake batter. I gotta call the police. You know? How do cake bakers stay so calm? How are they so calm? The deadline. If you promise the person you'll do it tomorrow, even though you know it takes 2 days. I think it's because they always take life one layer at a time. And the last one, I think this is the one that you guys will like the most. What's a baker's favorite part of a date? Dessert. I didn't think of that. But I have a better idea. Another one. We know a date now. I put boy and girl there so that it can be clear. I think it's the sweet talking. Oh. All right. Thank you for laughing at my dry jokes. I appreciate it. Okay, so if we go straight to the talk, I called this one the drive to profit. And why I called it the drive to profit, because when you're going somewhere and when you're doing a business, everybody wants to get to profit. That's the destination. And Pelumi gives, when you listen to her talk, she gives you the car. Like, she pushes you. So I feel like marketing and how to get customers is the car. And so if you're going somewhere without a car, you can't get there, right? So what I want to try and introduce you to do, you can trek. But profit is not, as you can tell, profit is not that easy to get to. It's like trekking to Canada from Lagos, you know? So you need, well, continue my analogy. What I want to try and introduce to you guys is the map, right? So if you have a car alone, that's like what she said. You're running business without data. So you're good at marketing and everything, but you don't have the data to help you, guide you to like reshape your strategy. And so what we're providing is the map. And I believe with a car and a map, you're likely to get where you're going, right? As long as you have a good car. So a little about me. Like I said, I'm Olusiji. I'm the co-founder of Bloompulse. I put co-founder there because I built it with these amazing people. That's Faith. And yes, she's in charge of the engineering. I just came with the idea, and Faith took that idea and built the fantastic platform. Now I'm casting her so that when we start doing it, and there's any feedback, you know, and Wale as well. That's Wale right there. Wale is the one that makes everything look beautiful. So if you see how beautiful this place is, because Wale is with us. I started this thing because a few years ago I started a business, framing business. So these things, frames, this is what we do here. And in the first year of my business, I realized that there's something wrong. Money enters the account, right? But it doesn't stay. It doesn't stay. The money is a visitor. I'm sure they would have tried to call me that, are you like a POS agent? What's going on here? You know? And I'm also a software engineer. So I see a problem and I feel like there should be a techie way to solve this thing, right? So that's how I got my friends together and we built Bloompulse. And then I quickly realized when I talked to my other friend, Shalewa, she's right here, that this problem is actually um, is more painful for bakers. I think the problem is because we buy with frame. You go to the market and buy these big materials, and then you take small and sell it to one customer. It takes more and sell it to one customer. So it's very difficult for you to figure out, how much am I supposed to sell it for? So it's a bit confusing. And that's why we built the Bloompulse. And then so since we built it and I started taking it to my friends one by one, and then I realized that, next thing they are calling me for strategy, like, this is what the data is showing, how can we? And then I became an SME consultant, and I've helped a few businesses to do a bit better and keep growing. And that's why we're bringing this to you. Um, want to see how we can help you. Want to see how our products can be a map that can help you grow. And one thing I see is that business is not magic. If you get it, if you have the car, if you, like she said, if you do the marketing right, and you have a map, you will get there. It's scientific, if you ask me. The pillars of a good business. So I think it's innovation, capital investment. Innovation basically means, what did you see in the market? What did you see in your world that is missing? Or what do you have in you that you felt like people needed to see it, right? And so you identify it and you create a product out of it. So I'm sure if I ask everybody about your product setup, everybody has something a little bit different about how they create their product. That's innovation. And it requires capital. Capital is your time, your money, and everything that goes into making it. Then the next thing is creative marketing. I put creative there because, like she said, marketing is not just putting it on Instagram. Marketing is looking at yourself and wondering, what's the best way for me? What's my name? Shiji. What's the best way for me, Shiji, to sell as much of this innovation as possible, right? So that's marketing. And the third pillar is, once you figure out how to get people to buy the thing you're innovating on, production efficiency. So that's systems. Okay? How do you set systems around to make sure that you are making as much as possible from what you're putting out? And I think those are the three pillars of a good business. In our talk today, we'll be dwelling on production efficiency. What does that mean? So when everybody that starts business, they have a basic idea of it. Like, I go and I'm going to get all these things I need to make my cake. I'm going to calculate all the things I need to make the cake. If it makes up 2,000 naira, that's my product cost. I'm going to put 500 naira on it so that I can sell it for 2,500 and make profit. That's the basics of it. Now, I say that's the basics, but I realize that some people don't actually do that, and it's shocking. So, for example, you're making it for 200, 2,000 and 2,500, and next thing, you are hearing that you're doing discounts. How much? 15% off. That's the 400 gone. You know? For example, you're doing batch. So if you order 5 cakes from me, I'm going to give you 20% off. How do you know that 20% off is not the, you know? So even though, like I said, this is the obvious one that everybody knows, there are some little things we do that makes us fall into a problem. And I use this picture to illustrate the problem. You see this guy? That's how it feels. Because sometimes, I don't know if you've had that experience, sometimes you did it and you sold it and you realize that, Omo, I just make that cake for free for that guy. I just did give it away, and that's the feeling, like, oh my God, and that's that. The thing with negative, I call it negative margin. Negative margin is, profit margin is how much extra you're making from your production cost. So I created it for 2,000 naira, I sold it for 2,500. So 500 is 25%, so 25% profit margin, right? Negative margin is when I'm selling it for 19, 1850, by mistake. That's negative margin. And the thing with negative margin is that no matter how many you sell, so if you see this chart, there's volume. Minus times 1 million is minus. So some people are excited. For example, you do Facebook ads and you get a lot of people coming in. And they're excited by volume and they're like, at least I'm working. And then it's like, it's always minus. In fact, it's a bigger minus. Let's say we all know the basics. Let's assume we all know the basics, right? But then are you now considering the other parts? You went to the market to buy it. Are you paying yourself? Electricity, gas, rent, ads, fuel. It goes on and on. So business is like a machine. That's what differentiates you from an hobbyist. An hobbyist is doing it for fun. But you're a business owner, it means you're creating a machine. And that machine needs to run, right? And the pieces of the cake is not the only component of the machine. You are a component, you need to collect salary. You need electricity, you need power, you need gas, you need internet, you need all these things. Are you factoring that into your 2.5? Because if you factor it, is it really 2.5 then? Maybe it's not really 2.5, right? And that's a big problem I see everywhere. I use this whole interesting diagram to explain what it looks like. So we've analyzed this guy already, and I hope none of us are this guy outright. I hope we are not outrightly selling things at negative margin. So if you are, please, I beg you, don't give cakes to Lagosians for free. But so let's leave this guy. On this chart, like I said, there's volume, negative margin, and positive margin. The basic of it is that the more you sell, the higher you are on volume. So you're pushing volume, right? The more per product margin. So for example, I explain margin as 2,000 production costs, 500 profits is 25% margin. So sometimes you can create a product that you are selling, creating it for 2,000, you're selling it for 4,000. That's 200% margin. So the more margin on your product, that's the further you are on this line. So the way I've seen from businesses so far is that 80% are here. What does that mean? You are pushing low volume and you are pushing it at low margins. You get what I mean? The cake you are selling, you are not doing more than 2 or 3 in a month. You get? Or the pastries, a few in a month. Bread, what's it called? Carrot cake or bread loaves, 10, 15 in a month. You are here. Why? Because it's possible that your margin is 20%, 25%. So how many 20, 25%? So let's say you're making profit, right? Problem why you're dangerously exposed is that anything that happens, you are going to fall into, you're becoming this guy. So what can happen? Your phone can spoil. You need to repair it. You have entered that, right? What can happen? Dollar can go up. So flour is now a higher price. You have entered that. What else can happen? I can go on and on and on. So the problem with this, the thing, not the problem, the characteristic of this person is this. It's this guy. This is how he always is. Because problems are always attacking his business model. Now, the people that figure this out and go and realize that they need to push more volume, they are the efficiency experts. And what makes an efficiency expert is they are still doing a low margin, puff, granite. So our mummies, they figured it out. You know, they would fry puff and go and stay in front of school gates and sell to them at volume. No fancy packaging, it's newspaper. But they are pushing it out regularly at high volume. You know, it looks boring. That's why I put the robot there. It looks boring, but you know what you need to do to get what you need done. But on the other hand, there is the solo genius. This person is pushing low volume, but the person is so creative and skilled that they are able to make it excellent. So excellence is 100%. So we all know all these bakers that do fancy decorations that you look at here and like, is this also cake? It's massive and all that. Obviously, the problem with a solo genius is that you cannot do 100% excellence at high volume. It takes time, right? It's a skill. But they are able to sell their excellence at ridiculous prices. So it means that the few people that purchase it, they are okay with that. Then on this guy, these are the masters of the industry. So they are the people that they figured out the 10% of excellence they can remove. They are doing it at 90% excellence so that they can do it at volume. So it's not shabby stuff. It's fantastic stuff. And they're pushing it at volume. So they are masters on the industry. That's people like Cakes and Cream and the like, you know. So I guess the point I wanted to make here, though, is that you should find your model. All this is to say that there is no wrong way. There's no wrong model. Once you've passed this margin, there's no wrong model. It now depends on you. I feel like business is personal. A lot of us look at business as what my customers want. I think business is what you want to bring to the world. So, for example, when is it right to be dangerously exposed? If you decide that your own business is a ministry, you want to give. You get me? You laugh, but you go to churches today, and in a lot of, especially churches inside, in a lot of these churches, they are selling pastries after church at very low prices. They are doing it as a ministry. You get? They know that it is low margin, but they want it. You talk to some people, you say, I just want people to be able to afford it. You know? And they are not selling that much. So most people shouldn't be, please don't be dangerously exposed if you are sure that this is your calling, like this is a ministry. But my point is that it's not wrong if that's where you are. Now, for example, efficiency experts as well. It's your model. If you realize that, I'm not super creative, I don't have time to be sitting there and be painting, but I'm good at talking to people, I'm good at figuring out how to sell it en masse, then that's you. Solo genius, you get what I mean? There is no wrong way. It's just that the problem is that some people see how other people do it and they kind of envy them, even though they are not built for it, or even though they themselves is not what they want. So you envy this person and try and be like the person, and then 1 year down the line, you are like hating life because it's not really what you want, or it's not how you're built. You get me? So my first thing is figure out what model works for you. When you figure out what model works for you, figure out what it requires. That efficiency expert is you. Okay, what does efficiency expert require? Volume. So you just figure out, don't look for fancy. There's Instagram people that are doing fancy. Nice, we liking it. But for you, figure out a way to make it simple and push it out fast. Now, if you're a solo genius, you know that you can't do things without it being excellent. You can't help it, right? Then your margins need to be ridiculous, right? Because first of all, you're going to spend time online just learning. You don't have the time that this person has to create tons of products. You are spending so much time learning. But when you come back and create like this, people will be like, wow. So don't go and sell your wow for 50% margin. You should be targeting 200, 250% margin. You get me? And finally, if you realize that, I'm able to balance everything, I'm able to figure out this guy, this solo genius has released this thing. What part of it is making sense that 95% of people will like this? I'll take it, I'll create my own, and I push it. And that's what makes this person a master of industry. They figured out what most people like and how to do it very well. And if you're that kind of person, that's who you are. The next thing I want to talk about is the challenges of profit and what makes profit challenging for everybody. The first thing is pricing right, and I think everybody understands this. I think what we don't really get is getting to aggregate profit, right? At the end of the month, you want to look at your account and be seeing money there. That is aggregate profit. Not profit on the product, profit as a business. And what that means is that you have made enough profit from your product to cover everything it costs to run the business. Finally, delayed feedback. Now, I think this is what kills most businesses, especially baking businesses. The problem is that when there is a problem, you don't know. Maybe the problem started 3 months ago. You didn't know that there was a problem with your pricing, right? Or you didn't know that you were not pushing enough or you were not selling it at the right price, or you're not pushing enough volume. It is 6 months later, you now look and you're like, what's going on? There's no money. So that delayed feedback is a killer, I found, because it gives you this feeling of frustration and hopelessness. And that's why at the beginning of the year, bakers are always excited because they were frustrated around October and they kind of laid back. And then November, December, they gather strength. Then January, they go again like, okay, you know what? We'll figure this thing out. They increase price a little bit. They change this, they change that. But then they don't really know whether what they did works. So around June, July, that frustration starts coming again because you're like, I've worked so hard. This thing is not making sense. I'm not seeing the kind of money that can make me a baller, you know? So you kind of, and then October comes, you're down again. Cycle continues until you finally just give up on the thing. So that's what we built Bloompulse to solve. Uh, we wanted to do something because we realized we tried different things. And one thing we saw was that nobody goes into baking wanting to do Excel. Nobody goes into baking wanting to be doing mathematical calculations, right? So that's why it's difficult. So we were like, can we create this product in such a way that it just follows your natural flow of how you currently do business? One example is you're already sending an invoice. You want to send an invoice to your customer to confirm that what you want is what I understand, right? So you're already doing that. So is there a way that once you send the invoice, the system can capture the value, the revenue there, and keep it for you as your revenue? You don't need to do math. It has already collected it for you. Or, for example, you're already, what's it called? If you're a responsible steward, you're already writing it down when you go to market to buy something. If you're not, just hide your face. You're already writing down somewhere, oh, this is how much I bought to, this is how much I spent, this is how much I spent. Is there a way that the system can collect all that information, capture everything you bought, and tell you how much your production cost for each product is, so that as price change in the market, your own production cost is automatically updating for you? That's what we're trying to do. Or, for example, is there a way that as I spend and I spend, I'm using a business account. Like I said, if you're a responsible steward, you probably have a separate account, even if it's your personal account, that this is where business money goes in and this is where business money goes out. If you don't have that, be guided. Open another business, open another account, just another account, and dedicate it to your business, right? So we're thinking, is there a way we can plug into that account and say, oh, anytime this person spends money, let's collect the value and save it as an expense, so that by the time they come and check, just by the way they naturally, responsibly do their business, we're already giving them all this data. So by 15th of November, if this green is not greening, and instead you're around here, you know why. You know where it's coming from. You get me? And you can adjust. You can say, okay, oh, Shiji, wake up, go and sell. Shiji, wake up, go and do this. If by the end of December, the end of January, you're looking at your records and you're like, this is not what I promised myself for the year, you can quickly tell, and you know how to adjust. So that's pretty much what we. What do you guys think? Wow. I was talking a lot, so I'm glad you guys.